Welcome to the Beyond the Business Podcast with your host, Corey Bauman.
Welcome to the Beyond the Business Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Bauman, and I am joined today by one of my good friends from New York, Tina Campbell. Hey, Tina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How's the weather in New York today?
A little chilly.
Chilly?
But spring. Spring is on and off. So
Chilly like 50s or chilly like 30s?
40s.
40s. Okay. All right. Well, it's starting to warm up here. It was 86 yesterday. 86 degrees.
I would love that.
Yeah, I had my windows down on the way home. It was nice. Not rubbing it in because I'll be in Pennsylvania next week.
Yeah, exactly.
But thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. You were definitely one of the people that I had listed as somebody I wanted to get on pretty quickly, just because you and I have built a relationship over the last 4 or 5 years, and I've really gotten to know kind of where your heart is. I know your story. It's powerful. And, this podcast is all about how people are impacting their communities, how they're impacting others, how they're leaving legacy beyond the business. So we're going to talk about that a lot. But why don't you tell everyone, so first of all, if you don't know Tina Campbell, Tina is the COO of a company called Free Enterprise Warriors. And she's also the regional partner for the New York, Western Connecticut region of Master Networks. So tell us a little bit about both of those roles.
Well, first it started with Free Enterprise Warriors. About 10 years ago, I was introduced to my mentor and my business partner now, and that's Dave Jenks. If you know Dave is, or don't know Dave, he is the dean of Master Networks University. He has also written many books and co-authored many books also. He was a professor and and also Dale Carnegie instructor. He's amazing. And I got involved with him through a friend, and we started to talk about how we wanted to activate or reactivate businesses and how we would do this. And Dave's really a master at that. So I was really just, blown away by, the honor of being able to be in business with him. And we were doing that. But if you remember, like 10, 12 years ago, we were in a recession. So many people out of business were, business coaches. So, we were doing that, but Dave was certainly, doing his thing. He was going around the country. He was, teaching and coaching at many locations. I was basically still in New York doing and working with him. But in the meantime, he gets a call from Charles Wilson and Dr. LaQuire, who were starting this organization called Master Networks. And they wanted to talk to Dave. And then ultimately after, some time, they decided that Dave would take this role in Master Networks, which was Dean of Master Networks University. And he and Chaz, they create all the intellectual property, as you know, Corey, that we disseminated all of our meetings. Yeah. And he told me about the opportunity, and I was like, Dave, that is awesome. You got to go for it. And I didn't really think about how that was going to impact me. And then Dave said, you should think about opening New York as a region. And I was, wow, do you think I could do that? And Dave has just always been my mentor and always telling me that I can do anything that I want to do, and he'll be behind me and he'll help me. And I was just like, wow, that just was such an honor for him to say, go for it. And Dave also has always told me that let fear be your compass. Go towards that which you fear and it will open doors. So I was like, okay, I have to, do this. And I knew there was some training that I would want to do, like some Toastmasters in order to be able to public speak. I knew that would help me. So I was kind of preparing myself that way. Sure. And it was really just such a seamless transition to go, we're both still owners of Free Enterprise Warriors. We both still consult. We now even have something added on to Free Enterprise Warriors, which is Dave's wife, Gina Waterfield, that does, the Women's Empowerment Project, and that's really become part of Free Enterprise Warriors' mission. So we have all that going on. Again, she's helping with energy work and blockaging, to release blockages of people that want to be entrepreneurs. It's all in the same, the same world. It's very cool. So then, then I was walking around here, in the New York area, started right in my backyard, and I was walking around, and I kind of make a little bit of a joke about it. And I say, I'm walking around here asking people, would you like to be in a networking group? And they're like, who's in it? And I'm like, me. That was it. But, then there was the first 10, and then the first 100, and then the first 200. And, I always felt that I was marching kind of around to this beat of this drum, saying to people, we're learning based, community minded, we're learning based, it was like my mantra. And people really started going, wow, I get it. I want to be part of that. And as people started to, and now honestly, I have people calling me about it because the message is getting spread. And as we know, it's a movement, right? It's a movement and a community. So you could see, though, how this journey, I always say, I wish I had this 20 years ago when I had more and more energy. But, I had to go through that learning experience to be the person I am in order to be the person I can be with Master Networks.
Yeah. And there's a lot there, a lot of important points for people to digest a little bit. I know the one thing for me, we talk about that one person, right? We have it written on our wall out here as you're one relationship away from changing your life. So it sounds to me like Dave Jenks was that person for you. It was Chaz for me, Dave for you. And, I often think about the times that I could have said no to Chaz. I remember.
Hey, how can you say no to Chaz?
Yeah, well, when it cost a lot more, and that was the no I was saying is, I wanted to coach with Chaz, but it was just a lot more than I'd ever paid for coaching at that time. And I was looking at it as a cost and not an investment. And I had to get to a place where I was okay with that. And I jumped in, but I often think, like, if I wouldn't have invested that money in the coaching program and gotten to know Chaz like I know him, I don't know if I'd be sitting here today. And I know that you can relate to that because of the same saying yes to Dave. Like, and now, like anytime, and Dave says this, he was here a couple weeks ago, anytime, there's certain people in Dave's life that anytime they ask him to do something, he says yes. And we're like that with Dave. Like if Dave asks us to do something, we just
right. Well, I'm like that with you. I mean, you were like, do you want to do this? I'm like, sure, that's great. Same with Chaz. Dave. It's like we've all come into this. I call it transferring of trust. So, for me, it was Dave, trusting Dave. And then, obviously he got to know Chaz. Therefore, I trusted Chaz. Chaz knows you. I trust you. It's a real trust transference. It's very interesting how that works.
It's that proximity that we always talk about. Those important people that you have. And you don't need 100 people. You just need some really good, trusting core group of people. Right. So,
right.
Cool. Well, thank you so much again for being here. And if it's okay, I'm going to dive into a little bit of your story because I think you have a powerful story. I often talk to people about what their big why is. And, and you run into this too, just, doing all the networking you do, that there's so many people that really don't have a why. They don't really even know what legacy means. Like they may have a business that really pays the bills and you ask them why they do what they do. And they identify with kind of what they do, not why they do it. A real estate agent or whatever industry it is. I feel like you just have such a powerful why, and your story, because I want you to share that your story has kind of generated that why for you, and the why has pulled you through some tough times. So why don't you talk a little bit about that if you're okay with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely, because I think it makes me who I am. So I'm very transparent. Well, I just want to mention one thing which was really interesting, that I was extremely shy. I mean, painfully shy through high school. So, I know the moment that I actually met my college roommate. Her name was Erin Mulligan. She actually helped me find my voice. So that's like, you talk about that first person, that the people that one relationship away from changing your future. And that was at that moment of going to college and meeting her. So that was really instrumental. But, I was doing I was in corporate HR for many, many, many years. My last corporate job was with a Japanese trading house. So I was working on creating culture, trying to bring two cultures together, or possibly more than that. And it was challenging, and I loved it. But when my two daughters when they were born, I needed to be with them more. So when we had moved from my husband's job, and I said, at that moment I had a choice of going back to corporate or going to do something on my own. And I always felt I was an entrepreneur within that corporation, because I always took ownership of my job. I always tried to find better ways and to inspire people in my department. I managed people. So I felt, at that point I was an entrepreneur, which showed your mindset. And as your mindset starts to change and you go from that entrepreneur, you want to go do something on your own so badly. So I had that opportunity when I met Dave Jenks to start this Free Enterprise Warriors with him. And it's been, he's amazing. To have Dave on speed dial, I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. So I have him, he's supporting me. He's like, let's do this, teaching me, this is how we can do this, challenging me, figure it out, Tina. As COO, I had to figure out things with websites and you name it. So one of the things that happened to me was I ended up having a minor stroke, not because of the pressure or Dave or anything like that. But during this time, I actually was going undiagnosed with a blood disorder, a blood cancer. It overproduces red blood cells. So I was just not getting oxygen, correctly. So I had this minor scare, and they figured out that I had this disease. And unfortunately, back, we're talking 11 years ago, they thought the powers that be, and what's on the internet, you should never listen to the internet, because you go immediately to the diagnosis. It scares you. They were saying I had 10 years to live. Jeez. Yeah. So when you get that kind of expiration date on you, whether it's good or someone tells you that or whatever the reason, or you get that kind of diagnosis, I felt like, I just wanted to get in bed and put the covers, over my head, but I had two little girls. And I kept thinking about the time. The time was like an enemy. So I had to come to terms with it. And I said, what, it took me a little while. It took me about, and some people, it's very difficult. I don't know why, but about 6 months later, I was kind of like, you've got to do something, because I felt like if the girls were going to be, 18 and 22, if something happened to me, how do I get them through those 10 years to, and this is where I go to legacy, because I had to show them that mom, got this diagnosis and she got busy. I use that word a lot. I got busy. Yeah. I wanted to show them that you can be strong, you can make good decisions, because I felt if I wasn't there to help them make decisions in the future, they have to have some basis. Yeah. So really, it was like at the same time dealing with, how do you manage this, it is obviously a manageable disease, because I'm, knock on wood, I'm here. It's 11 years post diagnosis.
Yes.
And honestly, it's like it just opened up. And again, I go back to that, let fear be your compass. So now I don't just run towards opportunities. I don't just walk, I run, because I'm like, I want to get there, right? You've seen me. I'm like, what are we doing? What's happening? So I have to tell you, I am a different person than I was 11 years ago. Yeah. Coming out of corporate was, had this mindset, but everything just kind of came and rolled. So now, actually my eldest daughter, Megan, who's in grad school, she comes to Connect every year, which is our Master Networks convention. She's come for the last 4 years that it's been in existence. And so I can show her, now, this is what mom's doing. This is everything that I did for the last 10, 11 years, culminating, and certainly I got the first President's Award that first year. And I have to tell you, I had to walk away because I was just ready to lose it, because I got that award, President's Award, from Chaz Wilson for, he just said some really nice things, and I got it in front of my daughter. So if I had gone into bed and just pulled the covers over, what legacy would I have been leaving my daughters? And my little daughter, she's 19 now, and she's in college in California. And Alabama and California was like, go and see the world, experience the world, meet people, see other cultures. I just feel like that's what I was able to give them, because my mind opened up to what's the legacy I can leave them. And if I could leave them as strong, confident women, like, my job is done here.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really wild.
I'm trying to sit here and imagine like getting diagnosed. And I know that obviously the one thing you said is like, if you Google anything, go on to like WebMD, like you're going to get the worst.
Yeah. I mean, take that with, a grain of salt. Sure. I mean, believe me, I want people to understand that I went to Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale. I've been to Sloan Kettering. I had a second opinion down in Sloan Kettering, excellent cancer center down there. And you know what? I just couldn't let it define me. But I have to be, I'm very lucky in that I'm managed through medicine to keep my blood numbers stable. So I'm very lucky that I'm able to do that. So I'm not downplaying the importance of, keeping, of if you need to take time off or whatever it is. It was just, this was the route that worked for me.
So how do you, when you go through that quote diagnosis or whatever, whether it's like you said, coming from an actual doctor or whatever it is, but like, how do you have a choice to make at that point, which you made obviously the best choice you could have. But like, there's obviously tough days that you're going to go through. So some of the tougher days, like take me back through some of that, maybe even in the very beginning where like your mind says, this is what I want to create. Like, this is what I want to do for my children. Yeah. And you go through these rough health days, maybe. So there was times where you wanted to maybe not give up, but like, take me through some of that. And then how did you power through and get up the next day and go, nope, this is what I'm going to do.
Sometimes even now, I mean, I'm tired, so part of what you get from, with the blood disorder is through the oxygenation and things like that are happening. You're tired, but I got to tell you something. What propels me to get out of bed every morning is I definitely have, what is it? FOMO, fear of missing out. FOMO.
Yes, you do.
I do.
I love that about you though.
So that propels me. But when I do get out of bed and when I get to like my Master Networks meetings, because I ran Robin through our Master Networks meeting in this, and so I'm in a different one, probably most days in the morning, and then I'm there in the evening. Yep. And sometimes in between we're doing things or socials, but something magical happens. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed. Somebody, last week I went to one meeting and we have a wonderful, pretty newer member that she is a supervisor of a school district. And now she's getting kids into college. Well, that's all in the, in the news right now, but she's so amazing and she does so much for her students. We started talking about how great would it be if we do webinars with our members in order to showcase the different types of industries that we have, so that kids can see, it's not just one choice of, there's so many choices out there. It's not just finance, or it's not just, there's all kinds of things happening. So I'm just amazed. If I hadn't gone, we wouldn't have started that conversation. And now we're meeting this week in order to really put that into starting to plan on that. And I think about it all the time. Wow. Or I see some interaction between, or a testimonial that's amazing of another member. And I'm like, would have missed it. So I think that's the thing, is think about, like, get yourself out of bed, look at the day and say, something's going to happen today. good or bad. But, if I don't get out of bed and I don't reach for it, again, what kind of legacy am I leaving behind?
And the other thing too, think back at like the timeline, right? So you said yes to Free Enterprise Warriors, you said yes to Master Networks, and then the illness came after that, right?
It was no, it was right. No, it was
right around
before. Yeah, it was right before Master Networks.
Okay, so either way you could look at it, right? So you were facing a really tough battle health-wise, and so many people could have looked at that and said, "Geez, like I can't take something else on right now." And while you have to take care of your health, you use that opportunity to then fuel your bigger why and to create this legacy.
Yeah. It really drove me. I mean, it drove me maybe more so than some people would think, was good for you. But you know what? I just also found it distracting, which was good because I wasn't concentrating. I think that's more of it. I wasn't concentrating on, oh my goodness, 10 years from now, something can happen to me. And I look back now and I think to myself, oh my goodness, what if I had just been sitting there waiting for something for the last 10 years, then, but I really, every step I take forward has always with my daughters in mind. I can't explain it.
Yeah. It's that saying we have on our wall, and here's one of our core values. It says, if you can do more, you must. And I think, and I don't know exactly how many members you have now, but well over 200 probably.
Almost 300.
Yeah. And you're getting up to the 300 and you'll hit it. But I think, I'm sure you do think about this a lot. But if you hadn't said that, yes, there's 300 plus people that, you're changing lives by just saying yes to that one thing. Right. And I think there's a lot to that. It's a domino effect. It also doesn't just happen though by saying yes, but then really dedicating, and I'm not saying this lightly, like dedicating your life to Master Networks and to that community that you're building there so that people have a place to go, that they'll never feel left out as an entrepreneur or business owner, whether they've just started a business or they're in the business for 20 years. We have an open arms policy, right? Open arms and abundance. And you have, and I always say this a lot, I use it as an example when we talk at our leadership events and things like that, but you are the epitome of the culture and the community that we're trying to build with Master Networks.
Thank you.
Much more than a meeting, right? It's much more than a meeting. In fact,
yeah. I even get goosebumps just thinking about it. But we've had, you and I've had the discussions about, there's births, people are showing up, people are so happy and congratulating. And we actually had a baby at our meeting last week because the dad could not, he wanted to come and he's like, I hope you don't mind. And I said, yeah, it's not like the kids are running amok. It's a little baby. She was about a year and a half before she got passed around to all, everybody wanted. And we were doing a face-to-face bonding, and I was doing that with him because I just wanted to hold the baby.
That's funny.
And, but we were doing business, that's the whole thing is that, family first. We always talk about that, family first. But this becomes a family too. So that person knew we'd be okay for that meeting to bring his baby. And then, that was part of the family. It was great. I'm amazed by, whether it's births, we've had people lose, people in their family, and Master Networks members are there for each other. It's incredible. It's just this feeling every day of this energy that it's palpable.
Yep.
And the community, everything I say, again, I told you I walked around here saying, it is learning based, it's community minded, it's a community of like-minded people, and it's just amazing.
We had, I was talking to a member the other day, and we were going to have her on a call to the nation, and she said to me something, I don't know exactly, but it was something to the effect that I just want to make sure that everyone doesn't just think I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. And I said to her, you should be proud of it. There's no problem, and you should shout that from the rooftops. And she does. She completely does. She was just very aware of how much she loves Master Networks and what we're doing.
I know.
Don't ever be afraid to be to be labeled as somebody drinking the Kool-Aid, because that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, right? So.
Well, yeah, I mean, because, I know how that has a negative connotation, excuse me, but it's, when you feel that strongly about something, and it's a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
people are just like, yeah, I want that. I want to feel that. And I always think of us as, I use a lot of energy terms. I use connecting, plugging in. I think of our chapter meetings like way stations where people come and plug in and then they go out to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I think it's just, what's amazing is that, your life is your life. Your journey is your journey. It's what you choose to do with it.
Yep. For sure. So I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Not really. I mean, you know the answers to these questions. So as far as like if somebody's listening right now and maybe they are a Master Networks member in a different region, maybe they're not a Master Networks member, maybe they run a business where they're trying to build a community type atmosphere, an environment where everybody supports each other and things like that. Maybe they're in a different networking group and they're trying to build that culture in their networking group. What would be a couple things that you would say have really kind of been the pillars, for you to be able to build that? I don't know if that's too general of a question, but if you can think of a couple things that are just really important that you go day in and day out that you're constantly focusing on to make sure that you're building the right community and culture.
Number one, obviously, is to bring value. Mm-hmm. But maybe the first thing would be build the culture. Mm-hmm. Build the culture, then bring value for sure. We're always like, what can we do? Also, I have people who come to me and they're making suggestions. Mm-hmm. Either, can we do this as a workshop? Can we do that? And I'll listen to everybody. I'm like, no, I'm not that lady of like, no. I'm like, well, let's talk about it. And, if people have a passion for what they do, you want to plug into that. You don't want it to just be about me or the region. It's always about them.
Yes.
It's always about them. So it's like, so really what I find myself being is the structure. So I'm helping with the structure, but again, I got to go back to those, those electrical terms, where they're plugging in and I'm plugging back, I'm plugging into them. Yep. And we talk a lot about pouring in, right? We pour into our leadership. We pour into to our members. And if you don't do that and you're just going to be stagnant and hope that the people are going to come, yep, it's not going to happen. So build your culture. Yep. Know what the culture is going to be first, then build it. But always make your decisions based upon that. Like I have a litmus test, and my litmus test for pretty much, the decisions I've made for the region and for, Master Networks has been that this is, I go back to learning-based community-minded. Can it fit into that? Yeah. First and foremost, because that's the culture.
Yeah,
right?
The value piece too.
The value piece.
That sometimes even I've definitely been at fault with this, where I think, value is a, how do I say, I don't want to say a tangible thing, but almost like, so value, I think, okay, so value is the training that we provide in the meeting, which it is, like there's a value to that. But I feel like your highest value is sitting down with someone on a personal level and really asking questions enough that that you're genuine enough to care about the answers. And then really search to find a way to find a need they have, right? We talk about bond all the time. Find a need they have, and then find somebody you can connect them with, or a way that you can help them, or whatever. That's where I feel like the real value is in what you guys are doing in New York. I feel like you're really good at that, like you specifically. And the reason the rest of them are good at that in your region is because of you and the way you lead and the way they see you do that, and they see the value that everyone's getting out of that piece, and then it spreads.
I have to tell you that's really, I usually have a theme for my goals. Every year I have a theme, because it's not just about numbers for me, and it's more about the goals and the theme. This year it was pour into leadership. That was kind of my theme. But one of the things I've been starting to really think about, and maybe this will be half of the, or moving forward, it's about, as you and I know, about proximity, and it's to get people to understand that I want to be a better connector. I want to continue always learning to be a connector and an influencer.
Yep.
And impact, right? Chaz is writing a book called Impact, and it's like, for me, that's huge. Yep. So I want to make an impact. I want to make, I want to be that connector. So I'm teaching, I hope, the rest of the region and my members that is really important. So you want to impact each other. You want to be the connector to the outside of Bachelor Network's world, and that's pretty much I think what our 2020 goals will be about.
Love it. I love it. Well, we're gonna wrap this thing up. Do you have anything else? What I'm gonna do is I'll tell anybody that's listening or watching this, please reach out to Tina. We talked a lot today about connecting, building a big network. One of the things specifically with Master Networks and our mission is that it's not just a chapter, it's not just a region, it's this huge network that, if I'm looking for someone in Colorado for a service or, whatever it is to refer somebody to, that I know that if I refer somebody to someone in Colorado, that because of the culture community that we're building, they're going to approach that referral the same way as I would. Right. And I know that you're doing a good job there with that. So please, this podcast is also meant to connect us. So I'll put Tina's information in the description. Please reach out to Tina, pick her brain. I'm telling you right now, Tina's
I love it.
Giving people that I know, and she will not turn you down for a phone call. She will find time for you.
I will do my best.
Yes. She's busy lady also. And I know one of the things that I was thinking about actually as you were talking is I love to see your relationship, and I don't know your relationship intimately with your daughter, but I love seeing your Facebook posts and knowing your story too, like that. It just, I don't know, it fills my heart because I know that you're still here, right? You're 11 and you're not going anywhere anytime soon. I know that. No. And the fact that you can go visit them at college and spend time with them, and it's so important to do that. I know it's important to you, and I love seeing that. So that inspires me too as my daughter grows.
I know. Just wait. It'll be before you know it. So spend, if I could say anything, is to try to get to spend time with your kids as much as possible, even when they are teenagers and moms, listening to bad music and, wearing, bad clothes, but it will all come around again. Yeah. It comes around and they start liking you again as long as you're there for them. And it's been I am thankful, believe it or not, for my diagnosis. I know that's weird, but it changed me and made me a better person.
Yep. Well, and I'm thankful that we met and that you were vulnerable and transparent today, because I think the more vulnerable we can be, the more we can help others through our stories.
Yeah. If anybody's going through something, I hope to be the cheerleader for them. Just reach out to me. All I can say is that together we're stronger.
Yes. Together we're stronger.
Okay.
Couldn't say more. We're going to end it on that note.
Okay.
Tina, thank you so much for everything.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes. And please reach out to Tina. Have a good rest of your week there. Hopefully it starts to warm up soon. And before you know it, so 2 weeks we'll be at Connect.
Yeah.
I believe it. So looking forward.
I'm psyched. I'll see you then.
And safe travels. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.